So now we know how to hold the bony pelvis in anatomical position. Now I will discuss what are the divisions of this bony pelvis. And this is division. And one is false pelvis and one is true pelvis. And if I go to discuss which one is false and which one is true, we must know the boundary of pelvic brim or what is pelvic brim or what is pelvic inlet. We already know from the previous video. And this false pelvis is also called the greater pelvis. And true pelvis is also called lesser pelvis. That means the false pelvis is wider and it is smaller. And between these two is the pelvic brim. Now you see here, this is pelvic brim. So above the pelvic brim is the false pelvis. What are the bony parts you can see above the pelvic brim? This is the ilium of the hip bone, this one, and this is the ala of the sacrum. So the ala of the sacrum and ilium of the hip bone of this side and also this side, they will form the false pelvis or greater pelvis, this one. Then below the pelvic brim, this one is the true pelvis, here. So in the true pelvis again, it presents three anatomical parts. One part is the pelvic brim or pelvic inlet. Then this is the cavity called pelvic cavity, and this is the outlet. My hand is closing the outlet part. I will discuss what are the boundaries of outlet. Now you can see only the outlet here. So the inlet, cavity and outlet, these three are the parts of the true pelvis or lesser pelvis. And their demarcating line or anatomical landmark is the pelvic brim. Besides this plane of pelvic inlet and pelvic outlet, another important term is there called axis of inlet, axis of outlet and axis of pelvic cavity. What is this axis? And you know this is plane of pelvic inlet, this one. Take a midpoint. Suppose this is the midpoint and you draw a perpendicular line here. And if this is pelvic outlet, this is the plane of pelvic outlet, take a midpoint here. And again here you draw a perpendicular line. Now you join these points. And here is the plane of pelvic cavity. So 3 points are there. One for inlet, one for cavity, one for outlet. If you join these 3 points, it will curve like that of the sacral curvature. And this is backwards, downwards, then forwards and downwards. This is called axis of the pelvic cavity. This part, it coincides with the uterus, and this part, it coincides with the vaginal canal. So this is called the axis of pelvic cavity, axis of pelvic inlet and axis of pelvic outlet.